Welcome to Homestand Sports, the podcast for the passionate fan. I'm your host, Albert Vartanian, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Justin Pooni,
who will tell you the harsh truth about Auston Matthews.
Wow. Well, on today's show, 5 statements from the Leafs loss to the Rangers, including Justin's love for number 34. Why Martin Jones should absolutely keep the net over Samsonov. Did Sheldon Keefe call out the referees? And we grade Brad Treliving signings in pass or fail. We got a lot to get to, so let's get this thing started. I'm Albert Vartanian, he's Justin Pooni, and this is Homestand Sports. All right, let's get to 5 statements where we look at some takeaways from the Leafs last game. They lost 5-2 on Tuesday night to the Rangers, snapping their 9-game point streak. A lot of lucky bounces, Pooni, went the Rangers' way. Didn't get the bounces on the Leafs side, but one guy who found the net, who's consistently finding the net now, is Auston Matthews. Another 2-goal night for him.
Albert, I gotta be honest with you here. If Auston Matthews played for any other team than the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think he might be next to Connor McDavid, my favorite player in the NHL. I'm not joking, man. Like, I watched this guy play, and I'm like, fuck, why does he have to play for the Leafs, man? Like,
wow,
he is so...
That's quite the statement from you.
Exactly, right? And watching him last night, that goal he scored, the first goal he scored, like, had a guy right on him, and he still roofed it, right? His ability to find, like, these small little creases in between the defenders and these holes and be able to pinpoint and put it top corner, that is why he's not Alex Ovechkin, but he's kind of from that same ilk where wherever he is on net, once he passes the blue line, Albert, he's a threat to score every single time he shoots the puck. And look, we talked about it. Last year wasn't his best year. Again, he still had almost, 40 goals last year, which was considered a down year, coming off 60. This year, he's projected, I think, for 70 goals this year. Now, I don't think he's going to score 70, but Albert, if he can hit that 50-goal plateau once again, or even touch 60 again, we have to have a serious talk about, he is, like, can he be the guy that go after Alex Ovechkin's records?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something with McDavid, because we had this conversation, right? Of what Matthews needs to do to overtake McDavid, which is probably a lot. But to be a lot more physical. Yeah. But I think he has to go down as right now the greatest goal scorer in the game right now.
Oh, absolutely. In hockey today, right now.
No one touches him.
Well, I mean, Ovechkin's still playing, right? And he's obviously, chasing Gretzky's record. That's a different story. But in his prime right now, the way he plays, Albert, there's no goal scorer better.
Sorry,
in
I
hockey.
said the greatest. I meant like the best.
Yeah, the best current pure goal scorer right now in hockey. It is Auston Matthews by far. And also, look, we have to give him credit. Now, he's picked up his play in the defensive, and he's a 200-foot player now, right? He can, go back and win faceoffs. He's one of the Leafs' best faceoff men, right? He could score. You can play the 200-foot game. Again, we talk about the physicality and stuff like that, but when you're projected to score 70 goals a year, I can take it easy on the physicality side of it. But every single night, he continues to impress me on how he does this, how he scores. You can obviously has the shot. He can go, in front of the net. The way he finds holes, and he could just shoot from anywhere and score. He's also got hands. Like I said, Albert, I'm actually like, it's hard for me to put the statement out there, but yeah, if Auston Matthews was on any other team other than the Toronto Maple Leafs, he might be one of my favorite players in the NHL.
And the dude's coming off a flu. I want to know what these Leafs players are getting to come off a flu and be able to play like that. Because if it's just you and me, we have a flu, we're done for like a week. We come back, we're still down, we're still hurting from the flu. These guys, they have the flu the next day, they're scoring 2 goals. So I need to know what the secret stuff is. But I got some numbers too. You said 50. He's halfway to 50 already. Yeah. He's going to hit that. He's got 9 goals in his last 5, 4 2-goal games in that time, 11 goals in his last 7, and he's got the most goals through 28 games in his career. His first Rockets season through 28 games, he had 21. His second Rockets season, he had 20. That's from Big Head Hockey on Twitter, who provides such
great
amazing
account.
stats.
Great
account. If
that.
you watch the NHL, if you pay attention to hockey, you got to follow that account. But yeah, listen, he's a pure goal scorer. And Keefe even said it after the game. He's like, we only had one guy who was able to beat a world-class goaltender tonight, and that's Auston Matthews. That's second goal. Near side, bar down. I mean, not many guys in the league can do that.
It's a goal scorer's goal.
The thing with Matthews, he attracts so much attention from the goalie and the other players that it also opens up spots for other players. Again, he was the only one that scored, but he's able to play make as well. And I think we need to say, no matter who's on his line, he's still doing the same thing. If it's Nylander, if it's Marner, if it's Noah Gregor, if it's Matthew Nyes, Calle Yarncroke, he's still producing at that level. And I think that's what separates the best players from the rest is it doesn't matter who's with you. You can still do your own thing and shine.
And I think, Albert, the other thing we have to talk about is, like you mentioned, he gets so much attention on him every single night. Not only is he the best goal scorer in hockey, but he's also the highest paid player in hockey, right? Just got that brand new contract. So there's even added expectations on him coming into this season. After a season where, again, they fell short in the playoffs. He didn't perform well in the second round. He had a rough regular season. He's played very, very well. And again, we've talked about it before a bunch of how we've seen these ups and down swings from Auston Matthews. But you look at it, we're on December 19th, 25 goals, projected to have 70 goals on this season. What he is doing, and he's missed games with the flu and stuff like that as well, is admirable. And again, we know Sheldon Keefe loves to put his lines through a blender at all times, in between games, in between, periods even. And the fact that this guy can still come out there and consistently put the puck in the back of the net, it's kind of like prime Ovechkin or, I'm not going to say prime Tiger, but or like prime Jordan or prime LeBron. The opposing team knows what you're going to do, but they still can't stop you. And Auston Matthews is not at that level with those guys, but he's playing so well this season where guys know what he's going to do, right? Or they can put as many guys on him, right? But they still can't stop him. That is the sign of a truly great player. And that's what Auston Matthews is.
You just got to say it, man. It's fine. It's okay to say it, man. Your Canucks are doing well, so you can dish out some praise.
He's a great goal scorer, but
he is a great goal scorer. Come on, brother.
But Brock Besser's 2 goals behind him.
Here we go. You're comparing Brock Besser to Auston Matthews now.
I just said Auston Matthews is the best goal scorer in hockey.
You just had to throw that in at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Our boy, Martin Jones. I thought he looked good again. Unfortunately, a lot of bounces didn't go their way. Deflected goals. You'll look at the stat line and see 5 goals against, but really, it was just the one. It was the one goal. One of them was an empty netter. The other 3 bounced off other players, and it was the Brandon Schneider goal that went under his pad.
Yeah, look, I liked what he did post-game. He took the accountability of that goal, saying that it was on him. And look, Sheldon Keefe came on and said that he had no problem with how they played, talked about the crazy bounces, which they were kind of some bounces I've never seen before, right? Like, even the Rangers players, they panned to their reactions. They were confused as to how the fuck.
Yeah, Keandre Miller's place.
Keandre Miller was like, happened? Yeah, exactly. He gave it one of those. But Martin Jones, I feel, because he's been in the league for a while, he has experience being a number one. Right. He's been through extended playoff runs. He knows how to talk to the media, and he took full accountability for that goal. Now, that goal that got scored on him, the Schneider goal, that was more on John Tavares, I think. John Tavares, if he cut the angle off more, it would have been able to give Jones an easier chance to, close his 5-hole and be more compact. And that's one thing I noticed last night about Martin Jones in the net. When he's confident and his game is on, he's compact, he moves with precision, he's very calm in the net. We see a lot of the times with Wall and Samsonov just how kind of sometimes they get in that fish in a barrel thing where they're kind of flopping around everywhere. Samsonov especially, right? But when I look at Jones and he comes out, challenges the shooter up at the top of his crease, aggressive, but he's a controlled aggression in the net. And I think with a goalie, that is so important to have. When you are up there challenging the shooter and your movement is compact, you're staying within your zone and in your crease, that reduces the chances for bad rebounds, right? And also holes where you can, allow a leaky goal. And we haven't seen that leaky goal. Now, for the other goals, I think the Panarin one, I think the went off Laguson's leg, right? I think if
Lagesson skate.
Yeah, if he had moved in a little bit, Lagesson, and cleared out the front of the net, that could have gone wide. But then again, I'm just picking hairs at that. That's not on Martin Jones. But the fact that after post game where he could have just said bad lucks and all of that, but no, he took ownership of it. That is a sign of a true leader. That's a sign of a true vet. That's the sign of a guy who has confidence in his game and his ability, where he can put a little bit more on himself and take a bit of the blame because he knows that he's going to get the chance to redeem himself. And I think, Albert, it's clear as cut as day now that we do not expect to see Ilya Samsonov, I don't think, for the rest of this year.
Not see him for the rest of this year. No, I don't agree with that because Joseph Wall's not back yet. He's probably going to come back in the new year.
No, I'm talking 2023.
Really?
Yeah. I think they run the course with Martin Jones until the new year. And again,
yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you. I think this is Martin Jones's net. I know in the last podcast I said maybe they should consider starting Samsonov, but that was because you got to get his confidence going. But then you see what Jones brings in this calming presence. and it goes on the players as well. They feel that, and they want to play in front of a guy like that. This is his net, and they're not that far off the Bruins for the Atlantic Division title. They got games to win. Yeah. I think you got to put your best goalie in there. They play the Buffalo Sabres on Thursday night. It's got to be Jones's net, you think?
I think so. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They play Buffalo Thursday, then they play at Columbus, right, on Saturday. Then they have the Christmas break until Wednesday against Ottawa. Then they play Friday at Columbus, and then they play the following Friday, against Carolina, right? So they only have one back-to-back, and I think we might see Samsonov maybe 100%. That game on the 29th against Columbus. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just ride Martin Jones until, the New Year and until Wall comes back because, then they have a back-to-back right after New Year. So, again, I think maybe they just ride Jones until, they got to play LA and then Anaheim.
You got to hope that Samsonov figures it out. But like I've said before, you don't have that time. You don't have that luxury. Perfect example. Okay, the other night, was it Minnesota? Minnesota was in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Which would have been
Marc-Andre
Fleury's potentially his last game ever. We don't know if he's going to retire yet. He kind of said he doesn't know if it's his last year. But the big blow up on social media was, I can't believe the Wild aren't starting Marc-Andre Fleury in this spot. And my take against that was Minnesota's trying to win games. They just fired their coach. This is the NHL. You have to win games. You're constantly chasing. You're constantly in the mix. And it applies to the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. If you have one goalie, I don't care if he's your third stringer making less than $1 million and he hasn't been a number one goalie in a long time. If he's playing the best out of the two available, that's the guy you have to start. And let's not forget, he's playing behind a team that's missing some defense here and that needs to make a trade to find a better defenseman. So if he's able to do this with this team, imagine a fully healthy Leafs team.
Yeah.
And you get Joseph Woll back, now you got a pretty solid tandem. You got a rookie who's playing really well. You got a vet backup who's playing really well, who's got a cup ring, took the Sharks to the finals before on his own back. I think you have to go with Jones.
I mean, that Sharks team is pretty good.
Really good. He was excellent, though. He was excellent. I'm not taking anything away from Thornton, Couture, and all those players, but I'm just saying he has that type of experience, which is going to lend itself so well to Joseph Woll, who's already playing well. So I think the odd man out at the moment is Ilya Samsonov.
I do want to push back quick on the Marc-Andre Fleury thing, just because I think it's a different situation, right?
It is.
Marc-Andre Fleury is a legend in Pittsburgh. Won Stanley Cups there. It's a different thing, but I do agree with you that when you're trying to win games, you have to play the best goalie. And I think right now, far and away, Martin Jones plays a whole lot, has been a whole lot better. And the team plays a lot better, right? The team plays way better in front of Martin Jones than do Ilya Samsonov.
They have no confidence in Samsonov.
Exactly.
Samsonov let in that one goal. I think it went off his mask and somehow through his body. And you should have seen John Tavares' face. He's like, are you kidding me? So if he feels that way, imagine the rest of the team. You need confidence, and they got confidence in Martin Jones. Long may it continue. This can change really quickly. Maybe they go to Buffalo, he gets lit up, and then we're having a whole different conversation. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with some more statements. We'll talk about Tyler Bertuzzi, a guy you have your eye on, and that line of him and Mitch Marner looking pretty good these days. All right, let's continue with some statements coming out of the New York Rangers game where they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 5-2. You wanted to highlight Tyler Bertuzzi in that second line.
Yeah, I thought the line of Tavares, Marner, and Bertuzzi was really impressive. Although they didn't get on the score sheet, I felt they had a whole lot of scoring opportunities. They played with some speed. They had a lot of offensive zone time possessions. And I felt there was a reason why Sheldon Keefe started them off every period, because they had a little bit of bite, a little bit of energy to their game. Again, I feel like John Tavares is the type of guy where he needs to play with, a guy like Mitch Marner and a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi, where they're not the fastest guys, but they can move up and down the ice a little bit, right? Marner plays a bit of that east-west game. Bertuzzi plays that north-south game. And Tavares, to his credit, can kind of be like a chameleon and kind of fit either mold of that player, which a true center should do. So I felt like, I think that's something that maybe Sheldon Keefe might want to take a look at and keep, letting ride, especially because, like we talked about, Auston Matthews is doing so well, carrying a line himself with whoever. Now, he does have William Nylander riding shotgun with him, so I don't know if he's carrying it, but I think that's something there, Albert, where I feel that's a line. Again, they also can be defensively responsible as well. I think that's something Sheldon Keefe might want to take a look at and give an extended run to, because I was very impressed at what I saw. Now, again, going back to that goal, the Schneider goal, I felt Tavares could have done a better job of back checking there, and they did give the puck away on that goal. But other than that, I felt that line had a whole lot of opportunities. They had a whole lot of chances. They created a whole lot of chances. That's something I want to see moving forward and see what's there, right? Because we know Keefe's going to change it up. But maybe for the next couple games, just see if there's anything there. At least then you know in your back pocket you can put those three together and they have some chemistry going forward if you need an instant spark throughout any point of the season and playoffs.
Keefe found a really good top six at the moment right now. And the reason Mitch Marner is even on that line is because he was struggling on the top line.
Yeah.
And Nylander wasn't, so he made the switch, and it's worked out. I don't know what it is, and I said it before, Mitch Marner catches a puck off the chin, and his game changes all of a sudden. But you're right. There's just a good mix on that line. I love the way that they play. Mm-hmm. We've been super critical of Bertuzzi, but now we're seeing what this guy is all about. He plays hard the entire game. Mm-hmm. I think 5-on-5, they're one of the best teams on the ice last night. You have Tavares winning faceoffs, I think, at an incredible rate. Marner can score. He can play make. Bertuzzi, we know, can play make. That top six is really good. And I think they got lucky in a sense on the top line with Matthew Nyes. Right? Yeah. He looked good at the end of last season. He looked good in the playoffs. I wasn't expecting him to hit the ground running this way on the top line, but he does not. He does not look like he doesn't fit on that top line. So I know I'm not talking about the Bertuzzi line, but overall, that top six, I think is probably one of the best in the league.
Well, talent-wise, of course, we know that. But the Nyes and Matthews combo kind of works well, especially with Nylander. Because they're all big-bodied guys. You know, again, they're not the toughest guys, but they have enough physical stature where they can bump and grind with guys. They can get into the tough areas, right? And the other line, right, they're a bit smaller in stature, right? But I love what I'm seeing from Bertuzzi. I love what I saw from him last night, where I finally saw like that north-south game, him getting in on the forecheck, getting loose pucks, creating loose pucks. Also, we saw him, with that speed setting up. Now, the one thing I will say about John Tavares, and he's done this his whole career, is when he comes into the zone and he kind of that little button hook and stop. I'm not a big fan of that. I know a lot of guys in hockey love that because it slows it down, and then you can open up and analyze.
Like the button hook into the slot?
Button hook into the slot, yeah. I'm a more guy, again, go north-south. He doesn't have the foot speed for that anymore. But what I saw from that line, I was very impressed. He got some offensive zone cycles as well. I think Sheldon Keefe should let this roll. Again, we'll see if he does.
Right.
But that's a line that I really, Albert, want to see get some runway, because I think there can be something there. It can help Mitch Marner pick his game up, can help Tavares. It can also help Bertuzzi, get more on the score sheet, which we know will help his confidence as well, because, he's had a better of late, right? The month of December, he's been much better, but the first couple months of the season were not as good. Let's see going into the new year if this line can continue, as I think this is a line that can create matchup problems and can, if they're given the opportunity, can help shut down opposing teams' best lines as well.
Yeah, and he's got another line that worked as well when he put Domi with Marner and Matthew Nyes.
Yeah.
That one worked as well.
Domi looked horrible last night.
Yeah, he didn't look great. And I'm sure we'll touch on Domi later on the show when we're grading some of Brad Treliving signings. You wanted to also touch on Sheldon Keefe. Mm-hmm. He made some post-game comments, and you think he was dogging the refs a little bit. Ellie, can you roll the clip?
I don't know, when 3 goals are going off of us and in the net, bouncing around, and you don't get any power plays in the game, you're probably not winning the game. So, these things happen over the course of 82, but I had no issues with that game.
Go ahead.
I got to give Sheldon Keefe credit. He comes across sometimes as like a happy-go-lucky guy, a guy who doesn't really. Sometimes when Sheldon Keefe first got hired, I'm like, oh, this is another Shanahan puppet that he can control, and this is just another cog in the MLS wheel that they can control, and he's a yes man.
I just want to say you can make that argument.
You can, right? But occasionally when he does things like this, I'm like, you know what? There's something. Or when he ripped into Tyler Bertuzzi, I'm like, you know what? Like, Sheldon Keefe does care. Right? He has a spine to him. Again, I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do to call out the refs in the NHL, because they're like a fraternity. It's like a blood bond they have together where they're going to back each other up. I still remember back in the day, Canucks fans will know this, when Alex Burrows cussed out a ref, and then Ron McLean went on CBC, a former ref, and just ripped Burrows a new one, and it continued on. You build that reputation. But I don't know if you just say that, but the biggest thing for me is I like that what I see from Sheldon Keefe. I like him calling out the officials. I like him kind of being sarcastic like that. I feel the NHL needs more of that again. Who cares about the fine? MLSC's got enough bankroll in the mint anyway to cover any fine you want to put out there. But to stand up for your players and just send a message and kind of be a prick a little bit, I like that. You need a little bit of prick in you to win in the NHL, and Sheldon Keefe has a little bit of a prick in him, and I kind of like that.
My takeaway is not that he was dogging the refs at all. I think this is a Pooni reach. I think you're really reaching here, because the next question that came in was about the power play opportunities, on whether the team did enough to earn it. He said, I thought we could have maybe attacked inside a little more, thought we had more offensive zone time than we did. I thought we attacked off the rush, especially in the second period. I thought we did more than enough, but unfortunately they defended well and had disciplined sticks. There was nothing there for us.
Now, but let me ask you this.
I don't think he's calling out the refs.
Subconsciously backtracking? Oh.
No, I don't think so. I watched the entire game. There's nothing that really went Toronto's way. Maybe the elbow on Mitch Marner, which was accidental. The Rangers player didn't even see him, and he caught him with an elbow. Yeah. I don't think he's calling out the refs. Keefe, I don't think, is afraid to do so. But with that said, I don't know. I think this is a nothing quote from Sheldon Keefe.
This was the first time, I think, since 1969 the Rangers have not gotten a penalty against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
What a stat that is. Follow Pooni's stats on X. I don't know. Listen, Keefe is not a guy who tends to call people out. He can do it from time to time. I don't think this is one of those times.
But do you disagree with him in the fact that you need to be a bit of a prick, especially your coach has to be a bit of a prick or a bit of a surly guy if you want to get the best out of your players? And also,
I feel
you need that type of mentality.
Yeah,
right? Like, why do you think Jay Woodcroft didn't work at Edmonton?
The only issue with Keefe is he tends to backtrack his comments about his players. When he does call his players, he'll follow that up the next day by trying to erase what
players
he said.
Aside, but like going out in the media and kind of, again, not being rude to the media, but basically just putting out that energy that, I'm not a pushover. You can't just push me over, right?
Yeah.
I think you need that from your coach too. Like, I think you need that, especially if you want to be successful in a Canadian market as well.
Well, if the Leafs want to be successful, my other takeaway here, my other statement is they really need scoring from the blue line. I was looking at last season's numbers, and I didn't really realize this, but they were their blue line was the bottom 8 in points, second worst for goals with 22. Only the Canucks, I had to throw this in, were worse. But if you look at the best teams in the league, Avs, Bruins, Oilers, Vegas at the top of the list in terms of scoring from the blue line. This season, bottom 7 in points and just 7 goals. You can have all the talent up front in the world, but you need some production from your back end outside of Morgan Rielly. I know Connor Timmins has been half decent since he came back offensively. Defensively, it's another conversation with Connor Timmins. The turnovers in the neutral zone is unbelievable. And the turnovers in the defensive zone from Connor Timmins, it's ridiculous. But they have to address that. I know they need a shutdown guy. They need like a Tanev. But maybe, just maybe, Treliving should be looking for an offensive defenseman. I'm not sure who's available. One guy that kind of popped up and I just thought of was Chychrun in Ottawa. Just because of what's going on with the Sens, I don't know what direction that they're going. Who knows if this Jacques Martin thing's going to work. But that type of player, right, where he has some defensive upside but can score goals, because you can't be going into the playoffs with, bottom 5 production from your blue line and expect to win. Look at last night, and this is a funny Leafs moment here. Eric Gustafsson, who was on the Leafs last season, finished tonight with 3 assists. So that tells you everything you need to know.
He was the first star. I love Jacob Chychrun on my team too. He's cost $4.6 million. He's going to be a UFA and get a whole big contract.
Listen, there's no rumors, no reports of that. That's just something I thought.
It's Albert's speculation.
Yeah, that's Vartanian's report.
His dreams that Jacob Chychrun.
It's not a dream.
And Chris Tanev and Bobby Orr and
what's a hell of a pairing.
Dennis Potvin will all be on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ray Bork. Well, look at the Leafs defense core they've had the last couple of years, right? There's a reason why they don't want to get the scoring from the defenseman, because the defensemen they have, other than Morgan Rielly, are incapable of putting points up, right? It's just Morgan Rielly. And again, you talked about the Canucks having the lowest scoring defense last year.
No longer the case.
Let's look at this here. Let's look at this here.
My point was that the Leafs made the playoffs. Yeah. The Canucks didn't. So they're on par with teams that don't make the playoffs in terms of production from the blue line. That's not good.
That's not good. It's not
good.
But again, look at the Leafs defense squad. They just current iteration and when fully healthy.
Yeah.
They just don't have guys that can pick up points, right?
Yeah.
You need to score from your defense.
But do you agree they should also look at an offensive defenseman and bring in?
Absolutely. But I think right now at this current juncture, they just need good capable NHL defenseman, all-encompassing NHL defenseman. I think something in the offseason you could do is look at that, try to get another offensive-minded defenseman. But I think, Albert, when you look at the current state of the NHL, I would rather have a guy like, you need an offensive stud on the back end, like a Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar.
What do you think of Chris Letang?
No, he's too old. He's too old, too expensive, right? I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I just have a feeling.
I wouldn't touch that with a 20-foot pole.
I have a feeling there could be a fire sale in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to retain a lot of salary on that side.
Yeah, we talked about it on Monday's pod, where we thought that, look, things could be rumbling out of Pittsburgh. But I'm a big believer now in the modern day NHL defenseman has to be able to do everything. No more of the guys where you can just throw him out there and he just bounces the puck off the glass and throws a couple body checks and that's it.
You need those guys too. You can't have 6 guys like that though.
You can't have maybe one guy like that. You can have one guy who's just a purely offensive, just like a Mort Seider. No, he's got him pretty good defensively. Or an Adam Fox. Guys who are Carlson, a strictly offensive defenseman. Another guy who's just a strict bruiser. But you need another 4 or 5 guys that can do everything. That can penalty kill. That can eat up big minutes. That can. The biggest thing, Albert, right now in the NHL for defensemen is you have to be able to skate. You have to be able to move. The game is too fast. The players are too big, too strong, too fast now, where you have to be able to keep up on your feet. You can't have guys like, respectfully, Eric Goodbranson, who can't really skate, right? You cannot have guys like that. And right now, the way I like this defense core the Leafs have done, this Band-Aid one, for one reason. It's because the guys can move and skate, right? They're not the best with the puck, but they can move and skate, and that's something I can deal with. But Brad Treliving, you need guys that can move the puck, that can control the play from the point, that can, quarterback, right? Even at 5-on-5, right? They're not going to just dump the puck in the corner and have the forwards do all the work. You want guys that are able to walk the blue line. Again, I don't want to bloviate and give a love fest towards Quinn Hughes, but he's the best in the league at that.
No, he is.
When you watch Quinn Hughes and how he walks that line and opens up shooting lanes not only for himself, but for his deep part and other players, that is what the Leafs need. Morgan Rielly can do it, but he's not as fleet of foot. And to get a defenseman like that, Albert, it's going to cost you a whole lot of money, a whole lot of assets, or you have to go to the draft and find one. That is something that I think the Leafs is their biggest worry going forward. Not talking about this year, but I'm talking about 3-4 years down the road. Who's going to be that guy on the defense corps, right? Yeah. That's the question, and that's starting to come very soon, is who's going to be the guy to take over Morgan Rielly as that guy on the defense corps? I don't know. Is that going to be through the draft? Is that going to be where? But I do agree with you. You need to get more scoring out of your defensemen. It's just the fact is they're hard to come by.
You can also get a free agent, pay him $4 million plus, named John Klingberg, who was supposed to be that guy, and it didn't happen. All right, let's grade some of these signings that Brad Treliving has made, and we've been talking about it all season. But now, listen, we're approaching the end of the year. We should mention we are filming this December 20th, so if anything changes for whatever reason, we apologize. But we're filming this on Wednesday, December 20th. Just a good time to, I think, evaluate where these signings are, more or less halfway through the season. Let's start, Justin Pooni, with Tyler Bertuzzi. Pass or fail?
It's a fail.
Okay. Couldn't hear you there.
At this particular junction,
a fail.
It's a fail. He's had a good couple weeks in December, but I have to see a larger sample size. Maybe, just maybe, if Sheldon Keefe listens to this podcast, which I think he probably does, he keeps Tavares and Marner together. Tavares, Marner, and Bertuzzi together in the new year, and we see him pick up. It's a fail right now, but it's not a huge fail. Right, it's creeping back up to a pass stage right now. He's just got to play a little bit more consistent. I want to see a little bit more of that north-south, that game with bite. I want to see a little bit more on the score sheet. He's making $5.5 million, right? You got to produce a little bit more if you're making $5.5 million bucks. Even though it's a 1-year deal, you got to produce a little bit more. So it's a fail right now for me. Yeah, this was to me always a play for what he brings in the playoffs, and we won't know his true value until the playoffs. This is a borderline call. I just went past because of his recent play on that second line. He just seems to be turning a corner. He started off the season. He had a bit of an injury, he was saying. He wasn't playing the way he was. Sheldon Keefe was still trying to figure out his lines. Keefe will always jumble those lines, but I think he's found something. We talked about it earlier on in this show with that second line, like you just mentioned. So I'm going to give him a pass right now. I get what you're saying. You need more production, but I think on that line, he brings a lot more than what you see on the box score.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
The next guy we're definitely 100% going to agree on. If we don't, I'm not sure what is wrong with you. Johnny Klingberg.
That's a fail.
Oh, man, it's a failure.
I don't know.
Not to kick a guy
what
while
else
he's down.
is there to
Right, hold
say
on. Not
about
to
it?
kick a guy while he's down.
We're not
But for
kicking
Brad
him, though.
Treliving, what were you thinking?
That's more of an indictment on kicking Brad Treliving. That's not on John Klingberg.
Right.
Right. The Leafs should have known of his past injury history and stuff like that.
I just feel like everyone's picking on the guy. And it's not his fault that
happens,
Brad
though.
Treliving paid him
It's
$4
pro
million.
sports. You're gonna get picked on, right? You're gonna get picked on when you don't play. Look, he's done more benefit to the Leafs by being on LTR and giving them some sort of cap relief than he ever did on the ice. So
Yeah.
at least he's bringing something positive to the situation.
I will say this. After going over the Leafs' production from the blue line over the past couple seasons, last season they were one of the worst teams. This season they're one of the worst teams. I can understand why Brad Treliving wanted to bring in an offensive defenseman. Just paying at $4 million, knowing, I think, hopefully that they knew that he was dealing with a hip injury his entire career. So big failure for John Klingberg. Regardless, Treliving dodged a bullet. He's off the books, at least for now, and it looks like he'll never play for the Toronto Maple Leafs ever again. The next one, Ryan Reeves.
Isn't this the same as Klingberg?
It's the same as Klingberg, isn't it?
It's a
fail. I know it's
This
a big
might be
failure.
even a bigger fail because of the term he gave him.
man.
1.35 by 3 years for a guy that old who doesn't play, who has he even gotten a fight this year?
Yeah, he's got a scrap. He fought Arbor Xhekaj.
The first game, right? And he got
fought
lit
someone
up.
else too. I can't remember.
But think about that. If we're talking about Ryan Reeves, we kind of have to think about how many fights this guy got into. Have we really noticed him at all? He hasn't done his job. He said he was supposed to bring his energy, clear up space for Marner, Matthews, be that kind of enforcer, that protector. He hasn't now. He's hurt now, right? He's on IR. But when he was playing, again, nothing. Just nothing. Never noticed him. He's too slow to put out there. He did his most memorable moment was the
that was opening night.
Opening night when he came on and flexed and all that. That was the most memorable moment.
I know.
That was it.
I know.
And he's had opportunity to show his value this season so far, and he hasn't yet. Fail. I love Revo. He can play on my team any night. He's got a great career in the media coming up when he does decide to hang him up, but not good.
Treliving brought him in to bring in some toughness.
Yeah.
And I honestly think maybe he added a little bit of that. There's a bit of an edge to this Leafs team. I don't know if that's completely Ryan Reeves. I don't know that for a fact. But there is more of an edge. There's more of after that Bruins game, these players are standing up for themselves. Nyes backed up Domi the other night. And they're one of the top teams, I think second in hits in the NHL. Make of that what you will, but still, that's not something you associate with this Leafs team. Is that Ryan Reeves? I'm not sure. Maybe he has that big of a voice in the dressing room, and maybe you look back on it like, yeah, okay, they overpaid for a fourth line guy, but if he added that edge to this team, then maybe it ends up being a pass in the end. But as of right now, it's definitely a failure. Okay, let's continue. Your boy, Domi.
Fail. Domi's been horrible.
I know this is a borderline call.
That's not even borderline. He's got
it is.
2 goals this season. Talked about how he doesn't shoot the puck ever, right? He loves the saucer pass.
Loves the
right?
sauce.
Thinks he's a prime like Wayne Gretzky out there throwing the saucer passes up and down.
He's a great passer. Give him his
He's
give
a
him-
good
give him
passer.
credit, man.
He's a good passer, not a great passer. He's
Right.
not. He's no Leon Draisaitl. Okay, let's face it. This has been another failure, right? He just hasn't worked out. Now he has had flashes. I'll say flashes where this could potentially be a pass, but unlike Tyler Bertuzzi, it hasn't been. Again, Bertuzzi the last couple of weeks has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Domi, it's like, great game from Domi on, was it Saturday night? And then what happens? Nothing. Like, again, up, down, up, down.
Yeah,
There's no
he has
flat
flashes of brilliance,
Flashes.
as they say in the footy world.
Yeah,
flashes
flashes.
of brilliance.
But again, it's not enough to even come close to sniffing a pass.
a game of pass, though.
Oh, my God.
I know. I mean, the production's not great, right? 2 goals, 15 assists. He is a third-line guy. I just go back to the same thing with Bertuzzi. I think this is more of a playoff play. He played top-line minutes for the Dallas Stars.
Hold on.
In the playoffs when Pavelski was out. He was good in that series against Vegas. Whenever he gets to the playoffs, he can play playoff hockey.
You're talking with the playoffs. We're
I
talking
know.
about grading them right now,
I know,
though.
you're right. I know, I'm getting
what?
ahead of myself.
So you just so if you're a teacher, you're just passing kids, and then at the final
I'm
exam,
flipping it. I'm
and at the
fail.
final
I'm one of
you
those
dropped
teachers.
you dropped the
I'm one of
final
those
exam, and
teachers.
just bam, you're that's it. You're done. You fail.
I'm one of those teachers, man. I
Come
like all
on,
the
man.
kids, right?
Come on.
I want them to go home with a passing grade.
You gotta give them some.
I'm going to
tough
flip
love.
on that. I'm going to go fail. You're right.
See?
Like,
Art of
you
persuasion.
need more production from Max Domi. Okay, let's quickly. Martin Jones.
Pass.
Right? I mean, what a deal this is. This looks like a brilliant deal. All these teams in the NHL right now are looking for second and third string goalies. They would love to have a guy like Martin
Now, I
Jones.
will say this, though. If he does stink it up and wet the bed, then it's a fail. But right at this particular moment, on December 20th at 11:02 a.m. in Toronto, Ontario, it is a resounding pass.
Noah Gregor, I'm going to give him a pass. Don't forget, this guy was on a PTO. They signed him. 29 games, he got 5 goals, 2 assists. I think his biggest contribution has been on the penalty kill. You lose Kerfoot, you lose Ryan O'Reilly, you lose Noah Chari.
Noah Chari.
You need a guy to pick up on the PK, and he has been. I think he's been a solid signing.
Look, again, a pass to a guy who's a fourth-line guy, but plays 11 minutes a game, right? That's, valuable minutes right there.
He's got wheels.
And he's got some wheels to him, right? That's what you need on the fourth line. He's been a pass. Now, the one thing I will say, if I want to nitpick, and again, people don't want to like this stat, but if you're a -4...
Yeah, I mean, he's also a fourth line guy.
He's also, but then again, that's as a fourth line guy, you should try to be as close to even as possible.
True.
But I will say this: Noah Gregor, but he does eat up, like you just mentioned, he eats up a lot of penalty kill minutes as well. Again, he's got some wheels. Eats up some valuable minutes. He's got a little bite to his game. Yeah, it's a pass.
Okay, and finally, I packaged these guys up, but William Lagesson, Benoit, and Lajoie. If you say fail, you're out of your mind.
It's a pass, right?
Of course it's a pass.
It's a pass for sure, based on the expectations. Now, there's certain nights where these guys do things that's like, what are you doing? But in totality, with all three of them, right? Not individually, the way they come in and filled in admirably, yes, it's a pass.
With all due respect, these guys are AHL players.
Yes,
I mean, minus Lagesson is the only one who really had NHL experience before the season started.
But even then.
And he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
He looks pretty good. So, listen, Treliving, I think for the most part, has done a pretty good job. We still need to see more. I think you're right from Bertuzzi, from Domi. Not going to see anything from Klingberg, Ryan Reeves. Who knows what's going to happen with him? He's injured at the moment. We'll see what happens when he comes back. All right, thanks for listening to Homestand. That's it for us over here. We'll be dropping episodes throughout the week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You can find Homestand Sports anywhere you download your podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. Thanks again for listening. I'm Albert Vartanian. He's Justin Pooni, and this has been Homestand Sports.